This is the All One Nurse podcast, where we are bridging the gap between the stethoscope and the soul and getting back to the human side of healthcare.
Powered by Riverside.
Did you know that identifying too closely with a job title can have both a positive and a negative effect on overall well-being? On one hand, a strong professional identity can provide purpose, confidence, and motivation, and it can reinforce a sense of belonging and accomplishment, making individuals feel valued in their roles. However, when identity is tied too closely to a title, it can lead to emotional exhaustion and stress. And there's even studies that suggest that rigid identification with a job title can increase burnout, especially when individuals feel that their unique contributions aren't fully reflected in their role. So, if someone loses their job or transitions careers, they may experience identity crisis, struggling to redefine themselves beyond their professional labels. So I beg the question, does what you do shape who you are, or is who you are something deeper, unchanged by titles, roles, or responsibilities? And in today's episode, I'm your host, Shenell Thompkins, and I beg the question, who are you beyond the title nurse? To help identify your identity beyond the profession and hopefully spark reflection and ultimately getting back to a place of fulfillment beyond perhaps a false sense of fulfillment behind your title. So let's talk about having a balanced approach where we see our career as part of our identity rather than the whole, which can lead to greater resilience and well-being. And today I'm diving deep into personal development, sharing my journey and exploring what it means to be more than our titles. And I'm going to cover 4 areas. 1, I'm going to define what a nurse is. 2, my journey and experiences, because they're mine. 3, personal growth and development. And 4, I want to leave you with some words of encouragement and a call to action through some thought-provoking questions to ask yourself. Therefore, go ahead and click subscribe if you're tuning in on your favorite podcasting platform, or if you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to just share this episode with others. And as a subscriber, you will never miss another episode, and your support will help me grow the podcast and reach other awesome listeners like yourself. Now, diving right into it. What is a nurse? According to the American Nursing Association, nursing is both an art and a science. It includes protection, promotion, and optimization of health and abilities, prevention of illness and injury, facilitation of healing, and alleviation of suffering through compassionate presence. It's a holistic profession that considers the physical, emotional, and social needs of individuals and communities. In other words, a nurse is a healthcare professional who specializes in caring for individuals, families, and communities to maintain or recover optimal health and quality of life. Now, just being honest, and that's quoted by the American Nursing Association, that's a lot. But nursing is so worth it because it honestly impacts the lives of others. And that's why it's even more frustrating when I hear comments like get the bag on social media when someone becomes a nurse, meaning go make that money. And I know it's not ill intended, but it's not the point of nursing either, because nursing is so much more. And to be honest, you cannot put a price on nursing. Like, yes, pay me well for it, for my job, because it is a job, but just defining what a nursing role is, like all that nursing entails, money will never bring a life back. And so we have to take our role as a nurse very seriously. And so I just want to throw that out there because, yes, you do watch individuals' lives improve when they start working in their career as a nurse, as with any other profession, right? Or business or a promotion, an advancement. But particularly in healthcare, as a nurse or as a provider, someone's life is ultimately in your hands. And so we have to take our role seriously. And it's not about just getting a check or getting the bag. But I digress. And that's why I really want to talk about what a nurse is. Now, I'm jumping right into my own personal journey of becoming a nurse. If you've been tuning into the podcast, then you would know that as for me, I did learn about nursing when I watched my cousin's life improve, but I didn't know exactly what she did as a nurse when I was younger. But as time went on, I watched my grandmother who got diagnosed with cancer, pancreatic cancer, and I watched how she lost weight over time after being a very healthy woman. And it started to make me think more about the human body and the disease process. And after seeing a few of her hospital stays and wanting her to come home to a clean house, or just tried to help her feel better by cleaning up her room and cleaning up the house because I stayed with her a lot. I think that kind of kick-started my sense of serving, right? And even in that, my grandmother, God rest her soul, Miss Bobby Jean, she would always say, my grandbaby is going to be a nurse. My grandbaby is going to be a nurse. And so I really think she spoke nursing over me by the words of her mouth. And with that, I ended up going to nursing school. And if you've been tuning in to All One Nurse or following me on social media, then you would know that I was a teenage mom. And so I went into nursing as a single parent, and it had its challenges, but it also made me more disciplined, I believe, because I knew that I had to provide for someone someone else in addition to myself, because I needed all the support that I could get while trying to obtain my degree and my nursing license. And so even in my previous episode with Farrah Lawrence, and we're talking about your personality, your reputation goes before you, your name goes before you. And I believe that's true in every area of your life. And just going back to being a single parent in nursing school, I remember getting a reference to another daycare provider, and she would let me, because I was very respectful and I paid I did whatever I could to just pay my daycare fees on time. With Mrs. Vanessa, Mrs. Myrtle, when I got to nurse in the nursing program and I got to the point where I had to go to clinicals, Mrs. Myrtle would let me drop my son Landon off 30 minutes before her daycare even opened, because she was willing to support me in my journey. But I also respected her and was a person of integrity even before I got my license in nursing. And so I just wanted to share that for someone who needed to hear that part of my journey. Coming through nursing school, getting out there on my own, and as a single parent, I started working. I think all new grads, for one, not even single parents, end up on night shift. And that's still a thing. And so going on night shift, and then most of the time working between Thursdays through Sunday morning, it's like I was consumed in nursing, especially the first 2 years of my career, because that Saturday through Sunday, or working more towards the weekend, worked out better for family help during that time. And what else is going on during that time? A lot of the social events at the time were during that time, family events, birthday parties. So I really didn't attend a lot of family events over the years, and I did not do a lot of social things. And so I feel like I was pretty wrapped up in nursing, especially the first 2 years of my career. And then, me and my husband got married, transitioned, and I started working in the place that I reside now, and still working and learning how to be a great nurse and wanting to be a great nurse and giving my all in nursing. I was just giving my all, showing up with a great attitude, getting something done. I was all in. But then I realized that when I got home, that was a different version of me. Not that I'm just, I'm genuinely kind, but I would get home after serving all day and basically be like, why hasn't the kitchen been cleaned? Y'all are well-abled bodied people. I've been serving all day, taking care of people all day. Y'all are able to clean up after yourselves. Like, I had to have a come to Jesus moment because it wasn't fair to them. I chose the nursing profession. I chose bedside care and I loved it. But how am I thriving and serving so much at work and then get home and look at them like I should not have to serve you? When these are the people that I love the most and the people that love me, my son and my husband. And so that was a reality check for me. And so when you're giving your best at work, you have to find balance. You have to sit back and wonder or be aware if you're not giving your best at home. And if you're not, then how do you find that balance? Because as for me, Shenell, I was frustrated when I got home, but I was happy and proudly overworked at work. And so I had to find a place of balance. And I thank God that I was aware of that. Now, just going straight into personal growth and development. I believe my nursing experiences and life experiences have helped me evolve personally and professionally. As I gained more experience as a nurse, I continued to build relationships with others through precepting, teamwork, and collaborating with interdisciplinary teams. And so I'm thriving at work, right? But again, not necessarily in the social realm or family, which I'm getting better at. But just fast forwarding to some personal events, when I experienced pregnancy losses, which you can learn more about on the Rapid Response RN podcast with Sarah Lorenzini. And yes, it wasn't just one pregnancy loss, there were multiple. And one thing I've learned through that experience is that it taught me that life is fleeting and life is special. So we need to live it and not just save the lives of others, but thrive in every area of our own lives. And I say that because my life was literally on the line. I experienced a ruptured tubal pregnancy right before I was expected to transfer to CVICU from med-surg step down. A day before my ultrasound, because I knew I was pregnant, I went in to help out at work and actually was MRT'd, it was just the medical response team, and found that I had internal bleeding, that my tube had ruptured and I had to get into emergency surgery. And so, yes, it showed me that you never know what a day may hold. So live your day well. And as I was recovering from that pregnancy loss and recovering from that procedure, I actually ended up going to a nursing fair with a colleague who is a friend of mine. And I actually ended up being the one to attend the school. And I started the master's program for nursing education. To become a nursing educator, I started to help teach classes like advanced 12 lead EKG at work. And then in my personal life, I was raising Landon, who is now a teenager. Me and my husband was dealing with pregnancy losses because I had issues after the ruptured tubal pregnancy. But then I eventually had kids. And during that time, when God blessed me to have a child, I had him right in the midst of COVID, April 2020. And remember, I said like I was thriving as a nurse, right? And giving my all in nursing. So when COVID hit, and I'm understanding that, hey, this is a very beautiful time for me and to be able to be a mom again. But I was so wrapped up in my career as a nurse that when I saw all the nurses going out, nurses on the front line, I'm sitting back like I should be doing something, but I'm right here at home. So it's like I am mourning and celebrating at the same time. So I'm celebrating my baby, but then I'm mourning the fact that this is my time that I should be out there. And so it's like God was just like, no, you should be right here at home. And of course, I'm okay with that. Like, yes, I'm okay with that. And that's when I actually had the vision for All One Nurse. And I didn't know that it would be what it is now, but I'm thankful. I am thankful that God provided that time of seclusion so that I could get out of my identity of just being a nurse and starting to embrace my role as a mom and learning how to set boundaries to protect my babies during COVID. And yes, I mean babies, because a year later I had another baby who is Lyric, and she was a birth control baby. But go listen to my episode on the rapid response RN with Sarah Lorenzini discussing ectopic pregnancies. And during that time and facing these obstacles and challenges, I can say that all of it built another level. It all built another level of resilience. And I learned how to trust God and how to truly trust God and continue to build my faith through prayer and seeking His word and staying connected through community with other believers. And I have to say this because this person actually blessed me. I can't remember her name. There was a older woman who would call me and she would just check in with me. Like, she got my number, and I guess they were just assigned to just call and check in on members of the church. And she would just call me, and I looked forward to those phone calls. And looking back in hindsight, she honestly kept my sanity during that time of seclusion with my baby, and also feeling like I should be out there nursing right now. Like, this is the year of the nurse, right? But God had called me to do something differently. And so, yes, I did struggle with identity crisis during that time because I felt helpless in my identity as a nurse. But God also changed the gears in my life and redirected me to understand who I am as an individual. And I learned the importance of taking care of myself while serving others, and not only at work. Like, I don't have to be a nurse just to serve. I don't have to be wrapped up in my role as a nurse, but just be Shenell. And now I am doing more than I would have ever imagined before the challenges, before COVID, before the obstacles. I'm no longer limiting myself in my nursing role, if that makes sense. And I believe that I am building the kingdom of God through this podcast, through serving at my local church and mentoring nursing students and new nurses, and understanding that without God, I cannot do any of this. And additionally, in every challenge I faced, I learned more about myself, and I started to want to be even a better version of myself by investing in me through programs, counseling, and even medication, to be honest. And I'm learning and believing who God says that I am. And I'm developing the skills that are fitting for Shenell. And if you haven't realized, if you're following me on TikTok, that I have stopped saying Nurse Shenell, like, this is Nurse Shenell. But instead, I am saying, I am Shenell with All One Nurse. Hey there, this is Shenell with All One Nurse, because I am Shenell and not just Nurse Shenell. And my counselor says that I am the Shenell, LOL. And so I am embracing and bettering Shenell. And I encourage you to self-reflect, personally grow, and develop who you are as, insert your name here, and start letting, insert your name here, show up in every area of your life. So my question for you is, are you questioning your identity or realize that you live, breathe, and sleep nursing? If so, I encourage you to take a step back and ask yourself, who am I really? Who am I if I wasn't a nurse? And how would others describe me? I want you to ask yourself those questions, or whatever your title may be. If you remove that title, how would someone else describe you if that title was no longer attached to your name, or you were no longer in that job, that role, that profession? And what brings you fulfillment outside of nursing, outside of your role, your title? And let's not just make it a 10-day vacation every year, because you have 365 days in a year just to be running and running and running, just to relax for 10, 15, or 20. So I pray that you start to find fulfillment at work, home, and amongst your community every day, because yesterday is gone, tomorrow isn't promised, and you only have today, right now, that's really guaranteed. And just understanding that you are beautifully and wonderfully made, God made you in his image and in his liking, and there is no one like you. While there may be many other nurses out there or many other people with the same title or job title as you, there is no one like you. And that's why comparison is a thief and job titles are vanity. So ask God to show you who you are beyond your role as a nurse or maybe as a mom, a dad, a wife, a husband, whatever you are giving your all to, and begin embracing and developing you and having a positive mindset and also thinking outside of yourself too. Not having a woe unto me mindset, but a why not me mindset. Because you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. Now, I feel like I ought to do an altar call and invite you to experience a fresh start with God. But instead, I would love for you to share your insights, and you can do so by leaving a review on the podcast and rating the podcast 5 stars while you're at it, if you have not done so. And if you're watching me on YouTube, leave a comment. Comment below. I would love to hear your insights. I would love to hear your feedback. If you want to connect more, you can do so on social media platforms like Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Just search for All One Nurse. And if your values align with All One Nurse and you would like to connect and share your journey, your insights, or expertise, then kindly email me at Shenell@allonenurse.com. And you can check out the descriptions below in this podcast episode for everything I just mentioned and more. Well, I think that's it for now, and I pray I left you feeling inspired and ready to dive into all things you beyond the title nurse. Until next time, let your light shine. Bye.